With Microsoft Build going on, there have been a ton of new Azure features and developer features, hundreds, thousands probably, that have been announced this week. You're talking new stuff for Kubernetes, new stuff for containerization, new stuff for serverless, language support, the list goes on and on. One of the things that have stuck out to me so far has been Visual Studio Codespaces. So if you haven't heard of Codespaces yet, pretty much it's like kind of like taking Visual Studio and picking it up and moving it to wherever you want to go. So let me give you an example. I have a few virtual machines that I work with. I have my Mac over here, and then I also have my desktop, which I'm recording on right now. The problem with that is that because I have so many moving parts, wherever I install Visual Studio Code, wherever I want to write any code, I have to install all of my extensions. I have to do my color schemes if I want to, different types of settings that I have for fonts and all of that. It's just cumbersome, or like on work machines, if I want the same type of features, or if one of my computers break, I have to set everything up all over again. Visual Studio Code is, or Visual Studio Codespaces is literally like you have a profile that you can just move around with you. It's in a browser and you don't have to install anything. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. I have my web browser open here, and what I'm going to do is just Google Visual Studio Codespaces, and it's going to be this first link here. You're going to click on this, and then this is going to bring you to a section where you can either sign up for a private preview or you can go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to go ahead and just get started here. And then this is going to bring me to a page that I can log in with. This is interesting. Visual Studio Online is apparently not compatible with Edge. So okay, we're gonna flip over to Chrome. All right, let's try this again. So we're at Chrome here. I'm gonna go to Visual Studio Codespaces. And then I'm gonna click on Get Started. So now what I can do is I can sign in. And what this is gonna do is this is gonna bring me to where I can sign in with my Azure account. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna sign in with my Azure account here. See, okay, great. So I'm officially signed in with my Azure account, and my only option here is to create a new plane, create a new code space. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this, and it's going to give me a few different options. I'm going to be able to pick my subscription, and then I'm going to be able to pick the location or the region that I want my code spaces to live in. I can also pick a name, so I'm just going to name it like Cloud Dev Code Spaces Resource Group. I'm going to go ahead and pop that into my Dev 10 resource group. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create this. So as this is creating, we can then go ahead and give it a name. So I'm just going to name it Cloud Dev Git repository. Do I want to set up a specific Git repository for this to pull in automatically? No, that's okay. I'm going to leave that blank. But if you do want to, you could definitely just pop in a Git repo here, like an HTTPS URL. And then what this will do is it'll automatically open that Git repo inside of Codespaces. But I'm going to leave it blank for right now. Instance type. Okay, so this is interesting. Really, what Codespaces is it's a machine that's running Codespaces for you. Now, of course, it's not like a machine that you have to manage. Like you don't have to do any updates on it. You don't have to worry about hardware. It's not like it's running on your desktop. It's running in the cloud, but it's running on a machine. So I'm just going to use the standard. I mean, 4 cores, 8 gigs of RAM. Like I really don't need more than that, but you could definitely bump up if you want to. And then idle time, yeah, after 30 minutes is okay. Dot files, no, I'm just gonna leave that blank. That's fine. And I'll go ahead and I'll create this. So boom. As you can see, it spins up pretty quick. It's still initializing, but we can kind of see that this is already starting to look like Visual Studio Code, which is awesome. And it's all in the web browser. I mean, I'm not installing anything. I'm not bringing anything down. It's literally just sitting in a web browser waiting for me to write some code, and boom, it is done. This is really cool stuff. So I have my welcome page here like I would in any other standard VS Code that I'm opening up for the first time. Looks like this section here, it shows you that it's preparing your code space. It's initializing the code space, building the container. So yeah, so this is actually running on a container, which is pretty cool, and it gives you all the information everywhere that it's currently running, and it lets you know like this is like the full CD process. This is the full deployment process, and it gives you all the information, which is of course really awesome. So yeah, I mean we're here. We're at Visual Studio Codespaces. As you can see, there are a few different things that are already installed, like source control. It comes right off the bat. And then if I go into the extensions, for example, like if I type in like PowerShell, right, I'm going to be able to install PowerShell, Python, of course. I definitely need that to be installed. Let's see what they have for Terraform. So as you can see, I mean, like there's no difference between the desktop version and the online version, from like an extension perspective. Obviously, there's a huge difference between using it in a web browser versus using it locally. So now we have all of this, and I'm gonna reload here. So what this is going to do is this is going to have my extensions now complete and ready for me. So let's say I want to start writing some code. I mean, if I go here, I of course don't have anything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my GitHub. I'm gonna get some code and I'm gonna pull it down. So I'm at my GitHub here. I'm gonna go to my profile. I'm gonna go to repositories. Let's see. Been working on some Java stuff lately, but said I'm just gonna pull and pick on my PowerShell Docker module here that I've created. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to VS Codespaces. I'm going to do a git clone. This popped up because I hit Control V. So yep, we want that. Good to go. This is going to clone. In order to use pull request functionality, you must sign into GitHub. Okay, we can definitely sign in. Let's see, we're going to authorize Visual Studio Code to access GitHub. Yep, that's fine. Close this window here. Okay, so now I have all my code here open. So I have my module here for my PowerShell Docker module. And then let's go ahead and just like pick one of these functions, for example. So I'm going to go ahead and load this up. All right. Oh, nope. Actually, I'm going to import. Sorry about that. So I'm going to import module here and then my, where am I? LS. Oops, sorry. I got to cd into here, ls, and then I'm going to do import module psm1. All right. So now I'm going to use the get docker image commandlet, and then I'm going to just specify a Docker image, and I'll just do like Nginx, for example. So there are no images with Nginx available. Now, is Docker available? Excuse me, is Docker available here? Let's see. It is. There is Docker available in Visual Studio Codespaces. So I'm just going to do Docker pull Nginx latest, and then this is going to go ahead and start installing for me. So if I run get Docker image again, I can see here that I do have my Nginx image up and running for me. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this. So we see commands are running. We see we can write code in here. We see here that there's a Docker environment. I mean, like, I'm sure oh no, there's actually no Terraform. Very interesting. So I wonder, is there chocolatey? There is no chocolatey. Is there winget? There is no winget. Okay, so maybe we'll have to do another video on how to get some Terraform up and running in here, which would be a pretty good idea. So if I go to my outline, I go to my timeline, there's really nothing here specific going on. What I can do is I can go to my settings here and I can maybe pick a color theme. So maybe I'll do like PowerShell ISE. That's way too bright for me. Let's rethink that. We'll do can be dark. Cool. So I have Terraform here, which is interesting because I can get the extension, but we'll have to, again, see how that works. So now what I can do is I can just, like pretty much do anything that I could do in Visual Studio. Now, the one thing that I do want to show is how to save this specific profile. Right now, there are essentially like one of two ways, well, technically two ways that you can really personalize the environment. So the first way is just by simply signing in. So once you sign in, you have this remote explorer here, and then this remote explorer, like it'll let you know what cloud hosted code spaces you have, and you could have multiple. So you could definitely list them out all here, and then you can sign into them one by one or disconnect. I've actually never pressed this button before, so see what happens. Okay, so it disconnects you. So now you can see that like once it's disconnected, it looks like it pretty much just tries to go back on. And I guess that's because it's my only profile that I have. But like, let's say I like disconnect and suspend, for example. Let's see what happens. Okay, then we can reconnect and let's see, Codespace Cloud Dev is suspended. Let's go ahead and reconnect that. And then it looks like it'll just resume our instance for us. Now we see like the standard Visual Studio, like black and grayish colors here, but I'm assuming that it'll pop back to the colors that I specified earlier. Let's wait and see if that actually happens. And yep, here it is. So it pops back and it has, let's see if it kind of gives me all my extensions back. I would assume that it would. Let's see. Looks like it's loading up. Yep, here is everything. Okay, perfect. Now, the other way is to specifically like configure your environment, and they call it Codespace environments right now. And then what you can do is simply just create a new file and you call it dev container.json. And then what this does is this is where you put in all of your configurations. You know what, this is actually in JSON. So we'll have an opening bracket and a closing bracket. And then at this point, we can start putting in the different type of information that we want to put in. So for example, let's say we wanted to specify like an app port that we always wanted open. We could absolutely do that for like a Flask API or something like that. And then we can also start specifying things like settings. So let's say I want to specify some set. Oh, sorry, let me do the double quotes here. I want to specify some settings. And then maybe those settings could be like colors, for example. So peacock, oh, sorry, double quotes again. Peacock remote color. And then this remote color could be like, I don't know, do 7 8 D7, for example. I don't know, something like that. And then you can also specify like different types of extensions you want as well. So you could have, oh, so you could have extensions here, and then you can specify these in a list. So you could specify, I don't know, PowerShell, for example. And this is going to be like the core of what your primary template is going to look like. And that primary template is going to pretty much like move around everywhere with you. And it'll have all of your core configurations that you want throughout every single environment. I really hope that you guys like this video. Let me know. This is, something that's very new. It's still very much in preview. So I'm sure that there are going to be a ton of new changes coming up probably shortly, within this year or within the next 6 months. Thank you for watching.